Hi guys, welcome to episode 3 of Heritage Talk by Craft and Glory, where the two of us will talk about everything heritage.
Everything heritage.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. What's in your mind?
What's on my mind? A good steak
In this heat?
in this heat and
Wow.
a well done one. So,
Wow.
I was wondering one thing.
Yep.
We've known each other for so long,
Yep.
but I've never asked you which is your favorite construction style when it comes to footwear.
Huh. Interesting. So let's take a look. Let me first inventory my collection, right? So that way I can kind of narrow down.
I know you have a lot of
Yeah,
boots from all major international brands. Keep on
So
counting.
I'd say about 30-ish.
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 Are you being honest?
If my wife's going to see this, then it's 30-ish.
So you're just saying this so you're not in trouble.
I'm saying this so I'm not in trouble.
Okay.
But if I look across all of them, right, one thing that becomes very clearly evident pretty early is my introduction to good boots and good footwear was all welted footwear. It was all Goodyear welted, or it was storm welted or flat welted, but it was all some type of welt being attached. Right?
Which was your first heritage boot?
My first actual heritage boot was a Wolverine 1000 mile.
Wolverine 1000.
Yep.
Oh,
so it's
a very good boot to start with.
it is, and that's a Goodyear welted boot.
That's a Goodyear
It's a
welted
Goodyear welted boot.
I love the model. I mean, they've created this brand around.
Anyway, but coming back to construction,
Yeah.
so I would say most of my Truman boots are Goodyear welted as well.
Truman,
It's only my Pacific Northwest boots.
P&W.
Yeah, my Whites, my Nicks, my Franks, and my Vibergs that are all stitched down. So it's a bit of a toss-up, right? I haven't really experienced nail-down construction or Blake weld construction or any of the other stuff, but I would say my two favorite styles are Goodyear welting and Stitchdown. With that being said, having now spent some actual time in the field or in this field,
Wait. So I'll interrupt you here.
Yep.
Before we give all these technical things,
Yep.
let's explain our audience what types of construction methods are there and maybe go forward and tell.
Sure. So, what's the objective of construction? When we say construction, what do we mean? Simply, construction, when we talk about construction, it's how the upper portion of the boot is connected to the midsole and the outsole. Or simply put, how this portion of the boot is connected with this portion
An
of the
upper
boot.
with an outsole.
Exactly.
A sole. Upper and a sole. in
Upper and a
layman
sole.
term.
It's as simple
so
as
how do you
that.
connect both of them?
So,
Is called the construction
correct.
of a boot.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'll start with what I think is the easiest and most mass-produced way to make a boot or a piece of footwear, and that is once you have the upper ready, you simply take contact cement or glue in layman's
Cement?
terms. Yep. It's called contact cement, but
Contact cement.
basically
Construction is called cemented.
it's called cemented. Yes,
Cement.
that's correct. That's absolutely correct.
And that's mass market.
That's mass market
That's
because it's
99% of the footwear in the market.
I
Leather or not.
I would imagine so because it's the easiest one to do. It requires the least human intervention. If you have the right assets and the setup, you can literally have machines doing it to a large extent.
It's cheaper, it's quicker.
It's efficient, especially when you're trying to cater to markets with less purchasing power, or you're trying to cater to segments where the product is not expected to last very long. People are going to keep replacing it every couple of years. Running shoes, for example, once you've run X 100 miles, you can't do anything. You're just going to get a new pair.
But that is why so we now wear some high construction boots, right?
Absolutely.
We are wearing
Absolutely.
Goodyear welted or stitched down. But
Yep.
I remember 10, 15 years back, the sole will start to
Yep.
unglue.
It'll start to
from the
unglue
upper,
because
right? So
all
that's
you
what
have
happens.
is a contact cement or a type of rubber adhesive, if you will, that then is just put under pressure to connect the sole to the upper portion of the boot.
So it's just pasting.
It's just
So
pasting.
it's just glued and
It's
pasted.
glue. Yeah, it's just glued.
Okay. So that's cemented. Glued and
Cementing
pasted.
actually makes it sound very tough, but when you say it just
it's a
like that,
marketing term, just
wh-
like genuine
exactly. But when you say glued,
Glued.
it doesn't
It's
sound all
like-
that fancy, does it?
Yes, it's Sounds like it's just going to
It sounds like a
come
kid's.
off.
Yeah,
in a few
it
wears,
sounds
yeah.
like an arts and crafts project instead of something very technical
Yes, I
and
agree.
and
And hence the
industrial.
word cemented,
Yeah.
because cement is psychologically
Strong
connected to very
and
strong.
exactly,
sturdy, yeah.
exactly.
But it's not.
It's
not.
no. I mean, it's
Use case driven. I
yes,
understand that.
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
It's not the best quality
No,
construction out
not
there.
at all.
And
Not
it's
at
also
all.
very recent, because you didn't had those industrial glues 70, 80, 100 years ago.
No, you didn't. Not for this type of stuff
With
anyway.
now chemists working on new technologies every day.
Yep.
They're coming up with better and better glues to stick your upper with outsole.
Exactly.
But I think we've done enough on
Cementing. Yep.
cemented.
So
I want to learn about the real heritage style construction.
okay. So then let's start with my second favorite, which is Stitchdown.
Stitchdown.
Stitchdown, right?
What is Stitchdown?
So Stitchdown is pretty simple. It's when you take the upper. Right? You flare out the front portion of the upper.
So you flare this out.
Correct. You flare it out like
So
that.
rather than this going in,
It's flared out, right?
So you take the upper, you flare it out.
Correct. And then you paste on your midsole, your outsole, whatever components are going to be there between your foot and the ground.
Okay.
And then you quite literally stitch the upper
Downwards.
onto the midsole through the outsole.
Outsole. So it's stitching down
The upper portion of the boot
upper portion
to the bottom portion
middle
of the boot.
portion, and the outsole, which is going to be in contact with the ground.
Perfect. So simply put, cementing is gluing. Stitch down is when you stitch the upper
But
to
it
the
makes
bottom.
sense. You just open the upper, stitch it through,
Yep,
and then you have your footwear ready.
pretty much.
What is the third kind of construction?
The third
Which
kind
is
of
heritage.
construction, which is something that I've grown extremely fond of since I joined the brand, having actually made prototype boots, having had to reopen them up, change soles, change interior components, relast them, try different things, what I've realized is extremely durable, very repair friendly, very longevity friendly, is welted construction.
Welted construction.
Yes, welted
Because we've been
construction.
saying Goodyear welted.
Goodyear. We've been saying Goodyear welted, so I'll break it down, right? So a welt is nothing but a strip of vegetable tan leather, not to be confused with vegan leather, different
No
thing.
vegan leather here, please. Vegan leather is also a marketing term. I'm getting tired of all
Of
these
marketing terms, I know.
There's
I know.
cementing, there is genuine leather, there is vegan leather.
Leather.
It's crazy. I think these big companies are trying to make a fool out of the customer.
I don't know, man, but I'll tell you what.
They sound so good.
They do,
But
doesn't
they-
it, right?
yeah.
But the moment you say it's glued, or the moment you tell people that vegan leathers, it actually comes from drilling oil, right? It's a petrochemical based product. It just changes the dynamic entirely, right? So welting is going to take vegetable tan leather, which is a type of tough leather, right? And it's pretty thick, it's pretty strong, it's very durable, and you stitch that to the upper portion of the boot, right? It's connected through internal stitches to the upper portion. And then, the same way that the upper portion of the boot in a stitch down is stitched down onto the outsole and midsole and whatever other components, the welt in this case is stitched down onto the midsole and outsole and other components.
So how I have understood this is that rather than flaring out the upper and stitch down, you just take a separate piece, a strip of leather,
Yes.
which is thick and durable.
Yes.
You stitch it with the upper
Yes.
on one side. You stitch the outsole on the other end.
Yes.
So it becomes the connecting point between the two.
Exactly.
And how convenient. You can just cut the threads, replace the outsole,
Yes.
and stick another one.
I mean,
and
technically, with any welted boot or any stitch down boot or any Blake McKay welt, you can do that. But the beautiful thing about Goodyear welting, right, is that not only can you cut the stitches and replace the outsole, but if you need to, you can replace the welt as well. The advantage of this is that your upper stays preserved. You
leather
can
stays as it is, man. And
Exactly.
it only keeps on getting better.
Exactly.
I get attached to my things.
Yep.
I do not want to throw them away.
Exactly.
The only problem with cementing is if you are investing in a good quality leather product, a leather footwear, boot, shoe, whatever it is, and only the outsole wears out,
Yep.
and you have to throw that lovely,
The entire thing
beautiful
away.
product.
It seems like
breaks
such a
my heart.
waste.
I mean, it's sad that because something worn out, and most of it, like still 70% of it is absolutely fine, and you
Yep.
still have to throw it away.
Yep. It's sad. It's disappointing. It just seems a bit of a letdown, to be honest with you. So, my closing remarks on this topic would be as follows. I like both Stitchdown and Goodyear, but God forbid there's a zombie apocalypse tomorrow, right? And I need to grab a pair of boots, obviously, to survive the apocalypse. I'm going to grab a pair of Goodyear welted boots simply because my chances of finding another survivor who knows how to repair them and being able to service them through the apocalypse is going to be immensely higher than Stitchdown in my limited experience. But what I really want to hear is you've been in this field for years now. You've sent boots out, you've had them come back, resold, repaired, rebuilt. How do you feel about both of them? You've introduced both of them. How do you feel about them?
So as a boot maker, all my collection that I use on everyday basis, they're all Goodyear welted.
Interesting. Why? I mean,
Why?
you have a factory at your beck and call. You could literally, sorry, that's not the right phrase. We have a workshop. So
Yes.
sorry. We have a workshop that's at your beck and call. You could have.
Yes. And we do both. We do Stitchdown.
Exactly. I mean, you could have the world's first 3-row Stitchdown made if you wanted to, but
Absolutely.
you don't. Why?
Why? So again, as a boot maker, it's a very good construction method to
Sure.
construct for us.
Yep.
And it's also very convenient for the customers to take the boot to any cobbler, any person who does shoe repairs and everything, and get a new sole installed on the boot without having that risk which is involved in Stitchdown, that if something goes wrong, if the stitches aren't falling on the right places and everything, you may spoil your boot.
Yep.
You may spoil a boot because you're stitching down through the part of the upper,
Yes.
and that maker may or may not have exactly similar looking leather, which is highly unlikely, by the way,
Yep.
right? You may end up changing the whole part of the front side of your boot
Yep.
because the person couldn't do it nicely.
Agreed.
Right?
Fair
so
enough.
Goodyear welting, I think it's very easy to change the welt if needed.
That's
Change-
the convenience, right?
That's
that
very
you're
convenient.
stitching through something that is
Yes.
replaceable.
Yes, it's replaceable. You cannot replace the flared out upper because that's part of the body of the upper, right?
Yep.
And if you screw it up, and there are 2 rows of stitching going
Yep.
on, so there are twice as much chances of screwing this up.
But technically, we could replace the vamp, and if there's an issue with Stitchdown. But as you rightly said, I think getting a 1-to-1 color match in full grain is not
As a
easy
maker,
to do.
you keep on introducing and adding more color to the range.
Yep.
If you come back to me after 3 years, 4 years, and have discontinued a color,
It's
and you
difficult.
say that match the vamp color in case anything happens, I don't have the color again,
Yep.
I would not be able to match it.
Understood.
right?
Yep.
The reconstruction is going to be very costly because we are changing the biggest part of the boot, that is vamp.
Yep.
So we're changing the vamp, we're adding the midsoles, we are redoing the whole thing. It's literally, apart from a few parts from your previous boot, it's literally a new boot.
Yep.
So that flexibility of having, and the confidence of having that boot being sent out for resoling and knowing that nothing is going to happen to the upper is the confidence that I really like. It's cheaper to do it because it's less labor oriented as well, and it requires less skill set to resole.
Yep.
So anybody can do it. Any part of the world you go, it's easy, it's simple, it's cheaper for you as a customer as well. So for me as a maker, we can do both,
Yep.
right? But eventually for the customer, it's expensive, difficult, and risky.
Fair enough. But
That is
just to clarify for those folks at home, right? When we say it requires less skill, you don't mean that we could literally quite do it with our own hands. I think what you mean is that
I mean by
the skilled
cobbler,
artisan, right?
Artisan, cobbler, a shoe repair
It's a
shop,
little easier for them.
anywhere in the world,
Yep.
right? If you're in India, you can send it back to us.
Yep.
But even if you're sending it back to us, doing it on a fresh pair when there are 0 holes
Yep.
already in the upper,
Yep.
versus redoing it when there are already holes, 2 rows of stitching, there are high chances that even we may screw up.
Yep.
And if we screw up, we'll have to change the construction style from this being stitched down to Goodyear welted.
So that's also another important point to clarify, that a stitch down boot could be, and probably in most cases can be, converted into a Goodyear
That flared
welt,
upward, which is flared outwards, can be then
tucked in, right?
lasted
Yep.
towards the inside, and a welt can be attached.
But
and it
the
can be
opposite
reconstructed.
isn't true. You cannot convert a Goodyear welted boot into a stitch down.
You
if you
cannot.
want.
You
Yeah.
don't have that extra margin in the upper that you need
Yep.
to convert it into a stitch down boot. But you don't really have to. Goodyear is a very durable construction.
I agree.
If you go into heritage, Goodyear is something which is widely being used by most of the artisans across. Really high quality Japanese makers, Indonesian makers, American, British, a lot of high quality companies, a lot of makers use Goodyear welted. So there is nothing good or bad about any construction style.
Yep.
There are pros and there are cons, and there are more time consuming methods than the other ones, but they're all heritage.
Agreed.
They're all high quality.
Agreed.
So KB, for me, can you sum this up for the audience that we've understood why there is cemented construction,
Yep.
Goodyear welted, and stitch down
Sure.
construction. But why do you have all these styles or methods of construction? What is the benefit to the consumer? Why should somebody be spending more money buying Goodyear welted or stitch down construction than buying a cemented one?
Okay, so I think let me start addressing this one by one. So with the cemented construction, you're typically going to find this in sports shoes, sneakers. You're not really going to find this in high quality work boots or heritage boots at all. The biggest advantage I see of cemented construction is that it reduces the cost to the consumer because it's
It
less
reduces the
labor
cost to the
intensive.
consumer. Yeah, you're
It-
just pasting something.
Exactly.
It's cheap, it's fast.
It facilitates mass production, which gives you economies of scale, so it's cheaper.
You don't even need that skill set in pasting.
No, you don't. You need to be able to do the basics and then use the right equipment to finish it. With stitch down, I think stitch down kind of became popular with makers from the Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest, Utah, Portland.
So it's Oregon, Washington
Oregon,
State,
yeah,
British
all
Columbia,
these
those parts of North America. And I think that goes back to their history. Because these boots were made for logging, they had very tall heels, right?
Yes,
And
the
they had
logger heel.
very thick midsoles, and they had very thick, robust leathers. Now, in order to be able to make the boot the way they do, they needed a certain degree of water resistance, which I think Stitch Down lent itself pretty
Stitch
well
down.
to.
I think both the construction methods are fantastic.
Yep.
When it comes to keeping water out.
Yep, agreed.
Stitch down as well as Goodyear welted.
Agreed.
Stitch down because you're flaring the upper outwards.
There's a lesser
There is a barrier.
chance.
There
Yep,
is a
there's a
barrier
lesser chance.
which is not letting water seep in easily. Yeah.
And I
that's
think
there.
along with that, what tends to happen with stitch down is that because you have those massive heels and those thick midsoles, there are a lot of nails going in to hold everything together. And that's partly tradition, partly function. I think stitch down aligns pretty well with having, God knows, dozens of nails through your boot to hold everything together. Goodyear welting, for me, it was the choice of production during the First World War, the Second World War. Every boot that landed, I think almost every boot that was at D-Day, it landed in Normandy, that stormed beaches in the Pacific, they were all Goodyear welted.
Goodyear welted.
I mean, that's my shtick on the three methods, the pros, the cons.
Okay, so to sum this up,
Yep,
cemented, if you are investing in a good leather product,
yep,
your leather is going to stay intact,
Yep.
your sole is going to wear out, and you would not be able to replace it, so you'll have to throw it. Right? Your investment gone right there.
Agreed.
If you buy a Goodyear welted or you buy a stitch down
Yep.
product, you'll be able to resole, rebuild,
yes,
recraft them.
yes.
And your investment will be there with you for a couple of years and decades.
If you take good care of it,
Good care
yes,
of it,
decade.
yeah.
This actually takes me back to something you said in our first episode, where we were talking about full grain leather versus genuine leather and other worse grades. With the genuine leather, right? It's mass produced, it's very generic, and it doesn't really get a character, or it doesn't go on a journey with you, right? When you're using a welted construction or stitch down construction, typically these constructions are made on high grain, high quality leathers.
Yes.
So you're basically allowing that piece of footwear to complete a long journey with you, because the sole wearing out is not going to be a bottleneck to a long
Yes.
life of that boot.
You can replace the sole.
Exactly.
Awesome. So that was very interesting
Yeah.
information, and
Well,
I
you
think
said it in episode 1. I was just throwing it back to you. That's all. So, thanks for tuning in. Just remember, any welted construction, any stitch down construction is almost infinitely repairable, resolable, and rebuildable.
There you have
So
it.
if you're investing money in your footwear, try and choose something that's welted, Goodyear welted or hand welted, or use a stitch down. You'll be happy and sole your feet. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you.